Hey guys, welcome back to my video. So guys, in today's video I want to share a few things that I didn't know about Martinique and things that I learned from my trip. So if you are new here or if you haven't seen my previous vlogs, as you would know, recently I traveled to Martinique and it was very different in terms of the culture, and I learned quite a few things, and things that I just didn't know. In today's video I want to share those things with you, and where I can I'm going to insert photos or videos so you can have some visuals for that. But anyways guys, let's get right into it. The first thing that I learned about Martinique, and something that I did not know, and I don't know how come I didn't know this, because I tend to do a lot of research before I go somewhere. But y'all, they drive on the right side of the road. So y'all, that was like a big like shock for me, and that was the first thing that I experienced like when I arrived, because obviously when I arrived I had to drive to wherever it is I was going. And initially, like, we started driving, and like I realized we were like on the right, but I just thought, oh, it's probably because of like the area where we were, or like how the road was designed or something. But then we kept driving and we kept on the right side, and y'all, I'm not gonna lie, it took me a few days to adjust to being comfortable on the right side of the road, because every time we were driving and I saw a vehicle coming from the opposite direction on the left side, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, we're going to crash. For me, in my head, it's like we drive on the left side, so if I'm seeing a vehicle on the left side coming, it's like you are on the wrong side. So it was just really weird seeing vehicles driving towards you on the left side. Yeah, that took me a while to not feel like, oh my gosh, you're gonna crash, you're gonna get into an accident. And also their vehicles are, well, what we would call left-handed vehicles in Trinidad, right? So the driver is on the left side of the vehicle and the passenger is on the right side, right? So that was something that y'all, I did not know, and I don't know why I didn't know that. Like, I feel like that's something that you should know if you're going to a country. Like, that's so important, like, what side of the road they drive on, like. But yeah, okay y'all, so the second thing that I didn't know, and something that I learned while being there, is that some of their high schools have dorms. Yes, so like universities, well, usually universities, they tend to have like dorms for their students to stay on campus, right? So like if you live in another country, you can on campus, or if you live far on the island, you can stay in the dorms on campus, right? But y'all, their high schools have dorm rooms. So high school students, they stay in their schools. So they have like dorm rooms where they will sleep, and then they will have like their classes where they will go to. And that for me was like very interesting. There's a lot about the school system that I learned, but I think like these high schools are kind of a reflection of what we call like boarding schools, because they will have like dorms and the students would like stay on the school property, right? So I thought that was really interesting and something that you should know. And usually like the students who will stay in the dorms are like students who live like south of the island and who live far. So like for us it would be like, okay, someone who lives like San Fernando, like Cedros, staying like in the dorm rooms in like UWI St. Augustine, right? So it's kind of like that distance in terms of like who would stay in the dorms. The third thing that I learned about Martinique, and something that I really didn't know, is that it's a very mountainous island. Like, I did not know that. Even like when you are driving on the highway, like, you know, for us, our highways are like flat. There are parts where it's like it's hilly, and the majority of the time you have like mountain views. So it's like a really mountainous island. And I feel like, you know, comparing it to like Trinidad, like their mountains are even taller than like our mountains. Like let's just compare it to like the northern range. It's very like it's taller compared to what we have in Trinidad. So it was like really nice to just like see the mountains like all of the time. And if you know me, I love me some mountain views. So yeah, that was like something that I didn't know, that the island was really mountainous, and it was quite surprising actually to learn that. Okay, so going back to the high schools, and something that I also learned about, you know, the schooling system and the high schools in Martinique is that y'all, some of the high schools, they don't have school uniforms. They go to school with ordinary going out clothes. Maybe some of the school they may have like a school t-shirt. They don't have to wear like, you know, sneakers and a particular color sneakers and socks and anything in particular as it concerns for like a uniform, which we have here in Trinidad. Like they are just casual and, you know, going to school. And even like the high schools that do have uniforms, they don't have to like wear like sneakers like we do. So like for us, I feel like our schooling system is very strict when it comes to school uniforms and, you know, what you are wearing. But for them, it's like very, I don't want to say Americanized, because they are more influenced by the European culture. So they have that influence from the European culture, and you see it in the schooling system as well. And one more thing that I'll just say about, you know, the schooling system is that for us, like I feel like we are very strict, especially like with high schools and stuff. Like for them, like when it's like lunchtime and break, like they get to leave school and they go to McDonald's and they have their lunch there, they buy food, and you just see like children like walking on the streets like normal, as if like school is over or something. And, you know, comparing it to us, like, you know, we don't have that, where it's like once you're in school, it's like you cannot leave that gate. You have to get permission, and yeah, you know, all of the red tapes that you have to go through. But yeah, it was quite interesting to see how they operate, sort of like, you know, what we would see on TV and in movies and stuff, like with children going to school like in America. Something else that I learned, and it was like I didn't even recognize, you know, I didn't even recognize it until someone pointed it out to me. But y'all, the cemeteries in Martinique are like houses. It's like a community. So, you know, we were just there driving and passing just, you know, like normal buildings or whatever, and we were passing like a cemetery. But I thought, you know, it was just like houses or just normal buildings or something. But yo, those cemeteries are so extravagant. Like, yo, these people go out for their loved ones. Because, so, you know, in some cemeteries, so I can compare it to the only cemetery that I can really compare it to is the cemetery on Tragrit Road. I'm not sure what's the name of the cemetery. Maybe it's like, oh, I think it's Mucuraco Cemetery, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, if you are familiar with that cemetery, like they are like some big kind of, I don't know what you call it, y'all, but you know, like some people build like a nice little covering and it looks as if it's like a house or something. So imagine a cemetery just full of like those types of, I don't know what you call it, like buildings, and even looking closer to like houses, right? And that is how like the cemeteries were. Like the cemeteries were literally blending into like the buildings around it. Like it looked like, if you didn't know, because I didn't, and you would think that, oh, that's just, you know, a house or just a part of a building or something. Like, I didn't even recognize that it was a cemetery. So that was really interesting to see, because I feel like for us, our cemeteries are just like grass, more or less, with the exception of a few people who may have, like, some tombstones and these different things, right? So going back to something else that I learned about, like, the schooling system, is that primary school students, they have a day off during the week. So I didn't really ask a lot of questions about this, but it was kind of brought to my attention. But apparently on Wednesdays, I'm not sure if they like change the dates or anything, but when I was there, like on Wednesdays, the primary school children don't have school. And I thought that that was like, wow, like that's something that I never like heard about or saw, like even on TV or whatever. If you go out, like, on a Wednesday, you would see children, out with their parents or at the beach or doing whatever. My last and final point that I want to share with you all that I learned, something that I didn't know about Martinique, is that many people live in a high-rise building, right? So these are buildings that we will call like condos here in Trinidad. And for us here, like, we know that only rich people live in those kinds of buildings. For them, it's not like, rich people living in those type of buildings or whatever, but it's just like a part of their culture, and it's actually influenced by the French culture. So if you go to France, that is something that you would see, like a lot of people, they live in like high-rise buildings and like condos. Not that in Martinique there aren't any persons who live like, in their own house or flat house or whatever. There are, but there are also quite a few, like, well, not quite a few, there are a lot of like high-rise buildings where people live in, and it's like their own little community, like whoever is living in the different buildings and stuff. So yeah, I was actually really surprised to see the amount of high-rise building that they have on the island, and not just apartments, but just buildings in general. People live in high-rise building like it is actually a normal thing for them, and it's not like rich people, it's just average, or maybe there's even rich people who live in high-rise buildings. So guys, those are just a few things that I learned and things that I didn't know about Martinique. If any of these points were like shocking to you, leave me a comment below, because y'all, for me, like, it was a shock. Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure and subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. Stay tuned for more videos. Anyways guys, I will see you all in my next one. Bye.